Tebbutt here for Ade Boxing. Delighted to be joined by Ade Oladipo. We're in the immediate aftermath of Anthony Joshua's split decision loss to Oleksandr Usyk here in Saudi Arabia. Ade, first and foremost, how did you see the fight?
Yeah, it's certainly not a split decision. I was surprised when those scores were read out. I had Oleksandr Usyk winning it by maybe 2 or 3 rounds. I thought a split decision was generous for AJ. Look, I thought he was better than he was in September, a bit more aggressive, but ultimately he's in there against someone that's just too good. Oleksandr Usyk, for me, is pound for pound #1. I think we saw why. AJ hurt him in the 9th round, and he almost went back to the corner and showed how good he is in that 10th, 11th and 12th. And there were times in that 10th and 11th where I really thought, if he turned it up a bit more, AJ could have been in real big trouble, and I'm in real big trouble. So look, ultimately, Oleksandr Usyk is just too good. It's not a slight on AJ. I think in years to come we'll look back and talk about Oleksandr Usyk as a very, very special fighter.
You mentioned that 9th round there. How important was it for Oleksandr Usyk in that 10th round to not just respond, but put it on Anthony Joshua as well, going into those championship rounds?
Shocked me, if I'm honest with you. I'm sitting ringside and Eddie Hearn's come over to the corner. He's almost giving him advice, like AJ's got to put it on him. That was AJ's best round. For him to do that, it almost reminded me a bit of when Floyd fought Shane Mosley. And Floyd got rocked twice, and then he went back to the corner, not a problem, regrouped, and showed how good he was and went through the gears. Oleksandr Usyk there almost went to an engine I didn't even know he had. Like, he was blowing in that fight. I mean, AJ was hitting him to the body, and it's almost like he went and dug deep and just pulled out something special, and that's why he is, honestly, that's why he is so brilliant. It really is. I had Vasily Lomachenko behind me, and he was screaming advice as well. It's almost like they know there's more in there with Oleksandr Usyk, and he showed it tonight.
Where next for Oleksandr Usyk? I don't think anybody believes that Tyson Fury's staying retired. We've got to see that undisputed fight.
Yeah, look, I was just in the change room with Oleksandr Usyk, and I asked him, look, give me a message for Tyson Fury. And he said, Tyson Fury, stop running, don't be scared, come out of retirement. That's all he wants. And he said, look, if he doesn't get that fight, he said, look, I'm happy to chill at home with the wife and kids. He's 35 now, he's undisputed at cruiserweight, unified at heavyweight. I don't think, as much as we all want a Wilder fight or a Joe Joyce Parker winner fight, I don't think those fights excite him. I don't think so. They're not going to at 35. He only wants Tyson Fury. He wants to become an all-time great. He wants to be in that discussion of the pantheon of great fighters. For him to do that, he needs to become undisputed heavyweight. That's what he wants. He wants Tyson Fury.
Anthony Joshua, a lot of the talk going into this is what happens if Anthony Joshua loses. Is he going to retire? What do you want to see next for AJ?
I don't know, if I'm honest with you. I'm not quite sure. Look, for AJ, it's been back-to-back title fights now for the last 5 years. Big arenas, stadiums, fighting abroad. Maybe it is just you take a step down. There are some real good fights out there for him. Hrgovic tonight. I think, if I'm Team AJ, I look at that and think that's a winnable fight, and it's a big name, it's an unbeaten guy, still comes with that selling power. I think that's a good opportunity for AJ. I don't want to see a Wilder fight, if I'm honest with you, not yet. I think, look, we saw what happened at the end of the fight, let's not skip away from it. I think AJ needs mentally to have a rest, and mentally not to go into a huge fight again and a big camp. I hope he sticks with Robert Garcia. I was listening to Robert in the corner and there's some good advice. But I think you take a break. And it's not. It's funny me saying it because I'm almost like AJ needs to stay busy, he needs to stay active. But I think mentally, he needs to take a break. AJ's not just a fighter; he's a brand, and it's all. I feel like it's all a bit much for him sometimes. I was shocked about him throwing the belts down. I was shocked about the speech after. But I think that's just a guy that's mentally drained and frustrated, and has been locked away for about 11 months training his arse off to try and get his belts back. I think a break or Hrgovic.
Okay, Ade Oladipo, always a pleasure catching up with you. We've got some chatting to do next week when we get back to the UK.
Absolutely,
Thanks
brother.
very much for speaking to Ade Boxing.
As always, bro. Thank you. Cheers.
Let's go.